Okay, looks like we are back up and running. Let's see. Boy, I don't know what happened there. My computer crashed, which is weird. I have only had that ever happen to me one time once before, and I was doing a bunch of stuff in DaVinci Resolve, and but this time I didn't have that much open. I've got OBS, which is the streaming software that's running in the background. Let's see if I can get my buddy Tim back on. Got to find the link to the new stream, because apparently when you stop and start, it does send out a new, it doesn't connect to the old one. Alright, so here we go. I think we're back up and running. I've got my buddy Tim on the line. So one of the things that he noticed was my gain was set incorrectly. And so we set that to 139, and then he recommended turning this off. That's probably what's going to make him a very happy person. Is now the histogram is pushed over to the left-hand side. Let's see. I'm going to reset this and start with 10-second exposures. Actually, you know what? I'm going to go back to my 15-second exposure time. My flats and everything should be good. So yes, Tim is a happy man now. He sees my histogram on the left-hand side where it belongs. All right, so I turn logarithmic horizontal axis off. So see, to me, this is more normal. But I'll leave it where you said. I'll keep it in the off position. So he says that will give me a little more fine-tuning control. But I think just actually, you know what, Tim? I think just fix it, just setting the gain properly. I was at 139, so that was kind of overexposing everything and blowing it out. And I think I don't know, do I still have as much control with it over here? Or is that going to drive you crazy? Let's see, I've got to find my current feed now. Get my chat window opened up here. All right, chat's working. I just did a test real quick. Okay, so Tim is saying will allow you to have more fine-tuning control when you have very long exposures. Okay. Well, that's good to know. All right. And see, it helps to have people all around you that are smarter than you. What you doing, Moose? I gotta show you this. So every night before he follows my wife upstairs to bed, he has to come in here and say goodbye to me. Come on, get up here. Oh. All right, you gonna give me a kiss goodnight? Oh, I know. Say hello to everybody. Say hello to everybody. This is Titan. Do you see? Who's that up there? That's you up there. I know. You get all excited when you see yourself. Don't jump up at the monitor. That's my boy. My other guy, he's too lazy. He's over on the other side of the room, but he won't come over. He might before he goes upstairs and goes to bed. We'll go back to the live feed here. All right. So as I was saying before we were so rudely interrupted by the blue screen of death earlier, this is the Perseus double cluster. And if you are just getting started with astronomy, you don't have to have a camera hooked up to your telescope. If you can find this object, it is an absolutely gorgeous wide field view, small telescope. It's called the double cluster in Perseus. And yes, Mitch, I was chewing an ice cube. Okay, so the guy with fabulous phone etiquette is talking about my live streaming etiquette here. Here we go. So again, this is the double cluster in Perseus, which is located right here in the sky. As I zoom out, you can see this time of the evening, it's up and to the left of the North Star Polaris. And let's see. Yeah, my computer crashed a while ago. So I was in the middle of a stream. I was online for over 90 minutes, or about 90 minutes, an hour and 26 minutes. And my computer crashed. So I had to restart the feed. So any links that I sent out, it just kind of went kaput. I have not had it was an actual true blue screen of death. And my computer did do an update a couple of days ago. I'm wondering if that update has something to do with it. Don't like those updates, but kind of have to keep up with some of the security stuff. So yeah, we're looking at the double cluster in Perseus here, which is this beautiful little cluster here. And that is what you're looking at here on screen live. There, Mitch is asking about the weather. Yes, there's terrible weather. Actually, according to I look at like 4 different weather forecasts. And around between 9 and 10 o'clock, which is 40 minutes away, there's supposed to be clouds moving in. And it's supposed to get windy tonight. So yeah, as soon as I'm done with the stream here, probably around 9 p.m. local time, I will be powering down and I will be packing everything in for the night. I'm not going to leave it set up tonight because I know the weather's supposed to be bad tomorrow. But I can strike everything and have it inside the house in about 10 minutes flat if I'm in a rush. Usually it takes me about 15 minutes. I take my time moving everything. I'm not worried about rain tonight, although we did have rain the other day. Let's see. So I'm going to come back out to the camera here for a second and see if I can get the music going again. I have to switch to a different source here. There we go. We got our background ambiance going again now. This is the double cluster in the constellation Perseus. Yeah, it's about the only striking and setting up I've been doing for the last 9 months is striking and setting up telescope stuff. Did I mix M? I don't understand what you're asking, Mitch. Did I mix M? Just looking at the text, the chat messages here. Anybody else want to tune in? Just missed. Oh, did I miss anything? Yeah, I looked at the moon earlier. No planes tonight when we were looking at the moon. If you want me to go back to the moon, I'll go back to the moon. I'm not doing anything, but thank you. Yeah, it is kind of cool music. I actually bought this album. I was telling somebody earlier. It's a guy named it's thebluemask.com. Thebluemask.com, and this album is called Deep Space Ambient. I don't remember how much I paid for it. It was like $30 or something, but it's 55 minutes of ambient music. The mix is good. That's great. I love hearing that, so I know whether I'm talking too low or the music's too loud or whatever. Yeah, so it's like an entire album, 54 minutes, Deep Space Ambient. It's royalty-free music. I think it's good background music for events like this. There's one of the tracks that lasts about 6 or 7 minutes that's got a little too much beat to it. But you'll hear it, I guess. Well, I don't know how far along in the album it is. I don't remember. It's like track 7 or track 8, and it's a little much. Like when that one comes on, people probably would tune in and say, "Yeah, you need to bring your music down a little bit. It's probably too much." Even though I did equalize all the levels in DaVinci before I output it as a single wave file. So what are we doing here? We're looking for something else to shoot besides the double cluster. We kind of have to stay over in this part of the sky. This nebula here, the Heart Nebula, it's almost too big for my sensor. Let's turn that on, and yeah, it's a bit much, but I could frame it up, I guess, about like that. Let's go check out the Heart Nebula. This is going to require some time. It's a big one. It's very faint too. So we'll move the scope over here. We should see the scope come into the field of view here in a second. Huh. There it goes. Alright, so we're going to clear the live stack, turn the live stack off for now. Crank up our gain. This is the process of getting things framed up. And then I need to switch over to the hydrogen alpha filter. I need to change it over to 180 seconds and change the flat to the hydrogen alpha flat. I'm not seeing much of the nebula there, but I'm going to take a chance, and I'm going to turn guiding on, and I'm going to start a what did I say I was going to do? 180 seconds? Yeah, I'm going to start a 180 second exposure. Now we wait. answer a few messages here. All right, so we're 90 seconds away from our first exposure coming in here on the, I don't even remember now what we're shooting, the Heart? Yes, the Heart Nebula. I don't even know what my framing is going to look like here. So, Mitch, yeah, I'm actually chatting with a couple of guys on WhatsApp in like a private astronomy, astrophotography little group that we have. And so they're commenting on different things and I'm answering them. And then you're the only one that I'm talking to on the YouTube chat right now. It gets a little confusing. I've got my laptop on YouTube here and I've got my phone open on WhatsApp and going back and forth here. So the guys were noticing like something was really way off on my histogram down here earlier, and it was because I had my gain cranked way up. I always crank the gain way up and do really short exposures when I'm kind of fine-tuning the composition. So here comes our first exposure. And there is the Heart Nebula. And I don't know with this framing whether we're going to actually be able to see the heart shape. It's kind of a large object for my field of view. This is kind of a cool object, though. Something to fool around with. Might do at least, I don't know, 9 minutes on this. So 6 more minutes, and then we'll. I know you said you wanted to see the moon because you missed it earlier, Mitch, and I think the other guys are tuning out now. So let me get 9 minutes on the Heart Nebula here, and then we will go over to the moon. I'll show you the moon. Mars and Uranus are up, but you know this scope is not really. It's not really the right telescope to be using to look at the planets, and camera combination either. It's a black and white camera, first of all, so we're going to just see a monochrome image. And the focal length is just so short. It's only 650 millimeters. You really need like 1,800, 2,000 millimeters to get any kind of decent resolution on the planets, especially this Mars this time of year. Mars is way past opposition, its closest point. So it's very small in the sky, but since they're sort of in the same part of the sky, Mars and Uranus are actually really close to each other. While we wait, I got another 90 seconds for this exposure to come in. I can show you where they're at in relation to each other. So here's where we're at now. So we're pointing sort of towards the northwest. This is due north here. So and this is where we're pointing now. So over to the west, you can see we've got Mars and Uranus really close to each other. Like, could almost get them in the same frame. You can see the red box is the frame of the camera. But anyway, they're pretty close to each other. Uranus is down here. So we'll go to Mars next, and then we'll go to Uranus next because it's lower in the sky. As you can see, it's already starting to get close to the bushes here. So we'll pop over to Uranus in about 6 to 9 minutes, and then we'll look at Mars real quick. And then we will come around to the moon, which is high overhead to the south here. The moon being so close to the meridian, I'm going to have to wait a little while. It might be a little tough to get that without the telescope hitting the legs of the tripod, because it'll be pointing almost straight overhead, really. So this red line is the meridian, the imaginary line between north and south. So pretty much like from about here to about here is a really hard, anything that's in this zone is pretty hard to shoot with the telescope. And that's because if we go to let me get my telescope up, or my can't get my little remote camera working again. Don't know. Oh, there we go. So you see where we're pointing now. If I point straight up, then the back end of the camera will hit the tripod. So that can become an issue. It's hard to shoot stuff close to the meridian unless it's further down here or closer. If it's down in this region, I can shoot it, but if it's in this zone right here, it makes it pretty tough to shoot. But we'll give the moon a shot. Let's go back and look at our image here. So we've got 6 minutes now on the Heart Nebula. A little bit of detail coming out in there. I'll just do one more and then we'll move on. Yeah, those satellites are everywhere. It's going to get really crowded up there too with Elon's Starlink stuff. But we're also far enough past. Hello, Kristen. How are you tonight, girl? I've got a new follower. So we're looking at right now tonight. We're watching the Heart Nebula, or we're looking at the Heart Nebula. So this is in what constellation is the Heart Nebula in? Looks like it's Heart Nebula. I want to say this is in Cassiopeia. It looks like it is, yeah, or Perseus. So if I zoom in, this is the object that we're framed up on right now. I think my framing is more like something like about like this. You can see the red box. That's sort of showing what the camera is shooting. So this is the live camera right now. We're doing what are we doing? We're doing 3-minute exposures, and the software is stacking them. So we have 2 3-minute exposures stacked already. Getting ready to have our 3rd exposure come in here, which will make this a 9-minute exposure. And there went our 9-minute exposure. So I am going to just call this quits tonight on this subject. Before we move on, I want to go ahead and save this. So that's our nebula that we just imaged. I'm doing okay, Kristen. We're just fooling around here. We've got some clouds that are going to be moving in the next hour or so, so I'm going to probably be calling it quits in the next probably 30 minutes, but not much happening. I need to ask, you don't have to say your full name, but Is this the Kristen B that I think it is, that I know? Or is this just someone that's a stranger that's tuned in to us tonight? just say you know me, or I know you, and I'll know who you are. I do know a Kristen whose last name starts with a B. Alright, so what are we doing here? We are moving on. Yeah, I'm not going to bother with this anymore, so we're going to clear that out. Turn live stacking off. Now we got to go to a shorter exposure, change our filter, and we're going to go to Uranus. So let's go find Uranus. Uranus, whatever you want to call it. And we'll tell the telescope to go to that, and we'll watch. We can see the telescope moving here, moving over to. Oh, it is. Yeah, we're excited to have you guys get out here too, and I'm sure your dad's quite excited to get you out here too. You're gonna love the dark skies we've got out here in the desert. Let's see. Okay, so we've moved over to Uranus, and let me stretch this histogram here. So my guess is that this bright object in the center of the frame is Uranus. So I'll just do a real quick plate solve on it, and we'll see. .02 degrees off. Yep. It's going to move it over just a touch. So yeah, so the bright star-like object that we see in the center of the frame here is actually Uranus. And it's not that impressive to look at. Like I was saying to my buddy Mitch here, in this telescope, just because it's it's a really small galaxy and they don't have a lot of focal length on this telescope. Here's what we can do though, is I can try stacking this, and what it will do, let me change my exposure to 2 seconds. It'll clean up some of the noise. In the background. And let's see, I gotta stop this. I gotta restart this. And start it up again. Okay, bear with me, guys. We're going to start getting an image in here eventually. Let's see, is my guiding not working? Guiding is working. It just may not be seeing enough to stack. That might be what the problem is here. I might have to bump up my exposure a little more. Let's go to 5 seconds. Mitch is asking if cropping helps. Well, I mean, I can go into 100%. Let me see if I can get an image stacking here first, and then I'll zoom into 100% and we'll see it. It doesn't seem to want to stack. Why? I'm almost wondering. I'm not seeing anything right now with a 5-second exposure. That tells me. Let's see. Let's go to our camera. No, it should be clear of the bushes. Yeah, maybe. So that's the camera in the backyard. Yeah, it should be clear. So there's a possibility that we've got clouds already rolling in this part of the sky. So in order for me to check that, I've got to actually go outside and, real quick here and look up in the sky, see if we got clouds. Okay, we do have a few puffy little clouds moving around, but nothing that's blocking this area of the sky right now. So I've got to do a little troubleshooting here and figure out why. I'm on the luminance filter. I've got my gain is set properly. I'm going to do 5-second exposures. I should be seeing something here. Guiding is working. It won't stack unless it's... here we go. We got something in the image now. Alright. So we've got a couple of frames stacked. Now I can zoom in. So Mitch, what I'll do is I'll zoom in to 100%. And now I can confirm that this is indeed Uranus because we can see a couple of its moons. So you see these two faint little objects right here, and I believe possibly this one right here are a couple of Uranus's moons. So that's kind of cool. We're doing a live stack on the moon here. I mean on Uranus, and we can see a couple of Uranus's moons. Here's the cool thing. Let me see if the histogram is gonna, if the live stacking here is going to clean up that background a little bit. But we can zoom in now in the app, and if we zoom all the way into Uranus, you can see the moons. So this is obviously, it's an inverted image because the telescope, the sensor is rotated, and we're looking out in space here. But let's get back on Uranus here. So we have three moons that are fairly close to it. So if we go back to our image and we zoom in a little tighter, I'll do a digital zoom of like 150%. So this is Uranus, and then we've got two of the moons here, and there's actually, going back to the thing here, there's quite a few of these, or all of these that are labeled right here close to it are moons of Uranus. I thought there was one further out, but apparently not. So the only thing we have to try to figure out is why is my mount moving over there? Is it going away? It looks like my mount has lost. It's moving. Why is my mount moving? This is the indicator that tells me where the telescope itself is pointing. So we're going to get a big jump in the exposure here, or in the tracking here. So yeah, so we're definitely looking at a few of Uranus's moons. It's almost like if we drew a line, these almost form a straight line. So if we go back to the app here and we find two moons, I wonder if it's these three that we're seeing here. I don't know, guys. I've never really spent a lot of time looking at Uranus like this to know its moons very well, but I can guarantee you that those two moons right there, it's just curious why we're not seeing the third, because we should be seeing Miranda, Ariel, and Umbriel here, all three of those moons, and for some reason we're only seeing two of them. These, when you zoom in really, really close to it, are the really, really faint ones that are part of the ring system of Uranus, and those will never show up in my telescope. So let's see, let me adjust the histogram. Try to get some black skies here. to go back out to 100%. So anything past 100%, you're doing like a digital zoom, and it kind of looks like garbage. All right, so what do you say? We go to Mars. Again, Mars is not going to be that impressive because it is so far past opposition, but Mars is very, very close to Uranus right now in the sky. So we can see that Mars is right up here. So we'll go ahead. Oh, you know what? I need to turn guiding off first. And then I need to clear live stack. We'll go to Mars. You can see the mount hop over to Mars. Mars is much brighter than Uranus. So that's Mars here in the center of our field of view. I will zoom in to 100% on that. And for Mars, I'm going to, instead of doing an overexposure to try to show the two moons, I'm going to actually bring the exposure way down to actually see if we can see any surface detail on the planet itself. Because sometimes you can see like different features on the surface when it's closer to opposition, meaning when it's close to us. But boy, that's such a tiny planet right now. I zoom way into like 300%. Oh, and then bring the exposure way down. You can see it kind of, we've got really bad weather tonight too, so I'm not going to make out any details on Mars tonight, unfortunately, guys. But it looks like it's swimming because the atmosphere is so turbulent tonight. It's taking a picture every 1.8 milliseconds, so it's about 1/1000th of a second here. And we're not getting any detail on Mars tonight. It's pretty low in the sky, plus we've got a lot of turbulence in the atmosphere. That's what's causing it to like dance all over the place like that. So I know Mars is a bit of a disappointment. It's kind of cool to see Uranus's moons though. So what we're going to do, we're going to go back to there, and we'll go to the moon now. Yeah, it does look like it's tumbling, but that's really just the atmospheric distortion here. I'm going to see, here's what I've got to do. I've got to be real careful going to the moon here. And I discussed it earlier. Let me look at my camera, or my telescope outside here. So the moon is almost straight overhead, so what's going to happen when the telescope starts pointing up, the camera is going to go down and it's going to get really close to the tripod legs. So I am going to take a chance that that doesn't actually happen and try to get to the moon right now. We'll watch it hit ourselves if it does. It might just clear it. Hey, look at that. How about that? Alright, so let's go back to the software. It will stop, Mitch. It will stop, but it's kind of hard on the gears to, for a second there before it realizes that there's too much tension. It is straining the motors. So never a good thing to forcibly run the telescope into the mount like that. Let's bring the moon in a little closer to us. Yeah, I know I'm going to get an error message there. Here's our moon tonight. So you can see, just looking at the moon, if I go in a little tighter here, we're in a waxing gibbous now, waxing gibbous phase. So if I zoom all the way out, so when you have just a little thin sliver, that's a crescent. When you have a real thin sliver of a crescent in the evening sky, right after sunset, that's a waxing moon. Waxing means it's going from the new moon phase to the full moon phase, and a waning moon means that it's going from full moon to new moon. So 4 days from now we'll have a full moon. So 5 days from now we'll have a waning moon. Waning as in getting smaller each evening or getting less lit. So we're at a waxing moon right now. So tomorrow, this shadow right here, we'll actually see a little bit more of the moon tomorrow, and each day following until I think the 28th is our full moon. Yeah, focus does seem like it is a little bit off. So, don't want to do that. I want to go to 100% and check focus on this crater here. You can see the turbulence in the atmosphere. Let's see, I'm going to zoom. I'm going to go in 30 clicks, 60 clicks, 90, 120, 150. That looks pretty good there. What do you think, guys? Pretty good focus? I'll zoom out just a little bit so we can see more of the moon. Maybe we'll get lucky, Mitch, like a few nights back, and we'll have an airplane fly right through our frame. I'll keep the cursor off the screen this time in case it does happen. I can adjust the exposure a little bit here. Oh, that's a little too much. It's kind of a balancing act here. So this edge of the moon here is in more direct light. So the exposure, you can see this area right here is sort of overexposed right now as I adjust the exposure. The terminator area, which is the area between daylight and dark on the moon, that's what this line here is called. Is like early morning sunlight on the moon right now. So it's not nearly as bright. You can actually see it getting from darker, a little medium here, brighter as it goes. That's why actually looking at the full moon is the worst time to look at the moon through a telescope, because the moon is directly overhead, and the sun is not casting any shadows. All of the light is falling directly down on top of the craters and the mountains, and the mountains and the craters are not casting any shadows, so you have no detail. It's a very flat image. That's why imagers that do the real high resolution imaging of the moon, when they try to get in real close to craters, they always try to image it when it's close to the terminator, so you have more detail. So if I turn the tracking off right now, how long would it take for it to get out of the frame? Well, you know what? What do we got to lose here? So let's go back out to, so this is the telescope tracking. What do I have to do to stop tracking? Let me see. I've never done that before. Oh, you know what I can do? I can go over to this software here and I can disconnect. So when I turn this off here, it's going to actually disconnect from the mount. So the mount should stop and we can watch the moon drift out of the frame. So we'll go back to the camera. Did it disconnect, or is it still connected? It must be still connected, because you can actually see the movement. So let's see. Mount USB. It's connected. Oh, here we go. Stop the mount. There we go. Now you can see I just stopped the mount. So you can see how fast the moon moves out of the frame here. You can also see the clouds starting to roll in here. Hey, they said 9 o'clock the clouds were going to roll in. So yeah, when you go outside and you look at the moon with the naked eye, you can't really visually see the moon moving unless it's really close to the horizon or close to a stationary object on the ground, and then you can kind of perceive the motion. But when you're looking at it through a high-power telescope, you know, this is a greatly magnified image, so it's magnifying the movement as well. You think I should keep this? Keep the moon drifting out of the field? I'll shut up and we can enjoy the music. Okay, so Mitch is asking, why is it drifting up? It all has to do with the orientation of the sensor and the camera. The camera is rotated a certain way. So what I need to do now is I need to go back to the software and tell the mount. Well, there's a way to stop the mount, but there's not a way to make the mount start again. That's interesting. Oh well, I guess we messed up that. So here's what I have to do now, is I have to disconnect. I have to reconnect and tell it to do a manual alignment. And if we go outside, we can see the telescope is going to go back over to the home position. Yeah, I've never stopped the mount. I always just assumed that if I hit the stop mount button that it would change to a start mount button and allow me to just start going again. So it's going over to the home position right now, which basically is pointing near Polaris. And I don't have to do a polar alignment or anything, but it does have to kind of get its sense. Since I stopped the mount, it lost track of its location in the sky. So I can just say finish here and exit. And I can find something. Let's see, if I go back now and point the telescope. I am going to show Kristen a couple of galaxies here. So let's see, we'll go to these galaxies here, make sure that the telescope is moving safely. Alright, should be clear. Let me reset a few things here. It's going to take me a second to get all back to normal. Change my exposure to 3 seconds. Looks like we've got clouds, but here are the 2 galaxies that I wanted to show. So this is M81 and M82, these 2 little fuzzy patches here. Looks like the clouds are clearing though, so we might give this a shot. We'll I like the framing where it's at right now, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and start guiding on what we've got here now. And if we wait a few seconds for the clouds to clear, I'm going to do 15 seconds luminance. So you can see right now that the image is updating every 3 seconds. And these are the two galaxies that I was hoping to image tonight, but the weather forecast seemed to be dead on. It said clouds were going to be rolling in around 9 o'clock, and it is 9:04, and the clouds are rolling in. I'm going to run outside real quick. I'll turn the music up and mute my mic, and I'm going to run outside and see just how heavy this layer of clouds is, and see whether this object is going to be worth sticking around for, or if we should move on to something at a different part of the sky. I'll be right back. Well, it's not looking good, folks. Clouds are seriously rolling in. It seems like the moon is about the only thing that's not covered in a cloud right now. So that may be the end of our broadcast evening, unless anybody's got a question. I don't know, Kristen, if you're still there. I know it's late back in Florida. Yeah, I don't have a whole lot more. Let me go back to my little, it's like there's a little area of the sky like right overhead right now that's clear. So let me look in this area and see if there's anything worth looking at. Let's see, what is that? No, that's going to be too faint. Boy, there's really not anything. These little red ovals are galaxies, but when they're not labeled with a number or a name on them, they're extremely faint and very, very difficult to see in the city here. But it gives you an idea of just how many galaxies are visible. If I was in a dark location, and as I zoom in, you can see even more and more faint galaxies start to show up. All right, good night, Kristen. I'm glad you were able to join in tonight. Yeah, if you subscribe to the channel and hit the notification little doohickey, you'll get a notification anytime I go live. So it's good to hear from you tonight, though. Looking forward to you guys moving out here. Yeah, not much else to do tonight, guys. Everything else is going to be, I don't know what this is. Intergalactic Wanderer. Let's see. Well, I mean, I know what it is. It's a globular cluster. Let's see if that part of the sky is clear, because I'm pretty sure, yeah, we got nothing but cloud cover right there right now. But I think the clouds are moving in that direction too. So let me stop guiding and let's go check out the Intergalactic Wanderer, NGC 2419. It's a globular cluster. It should, since the scope didn't have to do a meridian flip, it should be pretty accurately. I think that's probably it right there. Let's do a real quick plate solve on it and see if we got it lined up properly. I might have lost my telescope pointing whenever I turned the mount on and turned it back off. So let me see what the RA and DEC 5 and 23 for this object is. It should be 7 and 38. So yeah, so the scope is not pointing in the right location right now. So polar plate solve is not going to work until I disconnect and reconnect. There we go, 7 and 38. So now I should be able to plate solve on this object. .36 degrees off. Okay. So now we should have a very, very faint globular cluster right in the center of the frame. Oh boy, it is faint. Let's zoom way in here. It's that little faint smudge right there. That's a little cluster of probably a couple of 100,000 stars. If you wanted to do your own research, just Google NGC 2419, NGC 2419, and that'll give you some more information about this little globular cluster here. Yeah, it's a faint one, that's for sure. And it's also very small, so it's really not even worth stacking. And I think with the clouds and everything rolling in here, Mitch, I believe I'm going to sign off for the night as well and just call it quits here, because our field of view tonight is very, very limited. And in fact, I can start to see some clouds coming in on this image here even. So I think we're going to be cloud covered before we know it. Oh well, guys. Let's see. Do my usual send off. Thanks for joining me tonight. I was just fooling around here, doing some streaming, practicing here, and gonna call it quits for the night. Thanks for coming and hanging out. Good night, folks.